Very good day to you, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Candy Talk here on Herman Manyora's YouTube channel. My name is Evan Kenyan. I'm glad to be hosting you on Kenya's most comprehensive political and public governance analysis show. I'm here with the Professor Herman Manyora. Prof, how are you?
Wonderful.
Good evening. Let's have this conversation here. You see the DCP movement is in the Mount Kenya region, but recently, even as that movement still continues with the wave therein, the former president Uhuru Kenyatta actually gained full control of his Jubilee party, and right now we are seeing a rift between these parties. Of course, you've told me that on the ground it's DCP, Lokusemonko.
Yes.
There seemed to be some sort of antagonistic kind of way between the former president and Rigathi Gachagua with respect to which party now has full control of the mountain. How do you analyze this situation?
No, I don't think that so far there is any conflict between Jubilee. First of all, let us say congratulations to Uhuru Kenyatta, Jeremiah Kioni, my friend Saitoti, the chairman, and David Murade, my other friend, for the victory over there. You know, those are pretenders and people who are never grateful, people who have been assisted by Uhuru Kenyatta and are being used to mold down Uhuru Kenyatta's party. So congratulations to Uhuru Kenyatta and his genuine team of Jubilee leaders. I don't think so far there is any conflict between DCP and Jubilee. So far, no. Neither is there any conflict between Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta. I think the two are playing at different levels.
Okay.
What is true as of now is that the go-to party in Mount Kenya is DCP. That is true. That's a fact.
So where does that leave Jubilee?
No, Jubilee is there. Jubilee is there, and it is there. Yes. Now that it has come out of the war strong, Kioni may say stronger. Let's see how it goes. I don't think they are going to be competing for the same things. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think. There are many other parties. I think the mountain people realize that any disunity will lead them in the hands of their enemies. And for that reason, there will be unity in diversity in terms of parties. They could, a few of these parties, like the Moses Kuria party, he's warming up to Jubilee. A few of them could fold and join DCP or Jubilee. But there will be nothing wrong. The two are not necessarily mutually exclusive. You can have Jubilee and DCP, and the two of them will coexist. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Okay.
The only problem will be when Uhuru pushes for Matiang'i on the Jubilee ticket, and Gachagua pushes for either himself on DCP or for Kalonzo Musyoka. That is where the conflict will begin. But somehow, I'm sure it will be resolved.
Before we begin, before we get into the possibility of that conflict and dive deeper into it, talk to us about the implications of Uhuru Kenyatta gaining full control of the Jubilee party, actually to the politics of that region and to the politics of the country at large.
First of all, it reaffirms and reconfirms that he's the undisputed king of the region. Secondly, it leaves egg on the small boys and girls who are thinking that they had the capacity to wrestle apart from Uhuru Kenyatta, who wasn't even fighting. Other people will also add that it shows that our judiciary, when they want to render justice, they can do so. It could have taken a little longer than it should have, but at least justice has been served. Taking full control also means that the bigger boys and girls, bigger ones, who are trying to embarrass Uhuru Kenyatta, have lost it. That means, therefore, that the conclusion one must arrive at is that Uhuru Kenyatta does not need to fight. And that those who think they can humiliate him, embarrass him, or wrestle him to the ground will have to wait a little longer.
Okay.
But finally, from a political point of view, it means the journey for Matiang'i could be on the right track now. Because if Uhuru wanted to support Matiang'i, I'm just assuming, through Jubilee. And that Jubilee had issues. You can see Matiang'i's journey would have had problems. So that has been cleared. And therefore, Uhuru and Matiang'i can walk their path, whatever they want to go. Yes.
So that is it. So, but then on the national front, how significant is these two former President Uhuru Kenyatta, that is he then capable to still have the national influence that he used to have back then with this Jubilee party, in as much as many people see this party as somehow dead, quote unquote, politically?
You know, in this country, parties belong to individuals. So that ODM is Raila, you may wish to argue, but ODM is Raila, Wiper is Kalonzo, UDA is Ruto, and therefore Jubilee is Uhuru Kenyatta. So if you want to dismiss Jubilee, you are in a sense dismissing Uhuru Kenyatta. And that will be a little reckless. Yeah.
Is that the same reason why KANU still exists? So for you right now, KANU is still Moi?
Yeah, KANU is still Moi. And there is KANU. And you know, in Malawi, I think, the independence party which people had, the KANU of those days, of that country, came back to power.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't think it is far-fetched to say that if Gideon Moi was a really man, I'm not saying he's not a man, I'm just saying a really man, you could see one day this KANU back on the stage. So parties actually are associated with individuals. So long as those individuals are as strong and remain relevant like Uhuru Kenyatta, you cannot write off their political parties, unless they don't want, for whatever reason. Yeah.
Getting back to the mountain, you're talking about coexistence between the DCP party and the Jubilee party. But then, of course, at the end of the day, these are parties which have been started by individuals with interest. And definitely for DCP party, now that it's emerging and it's growing, the only way through which it will grow would be maybe seek to have members of parliament and fill these other seats through that particular party. The same to Jubilee party. Why don't you then think that this would lead to some sort of a conflict?
No, you see, I have already told you that DCP for now is the party of the mountain.
Okay.
It's a party of choice.
So we expect the
if
MPs
you are not with
DCP
to get elected on the mountain, it will be very difficult. The survivors, the only people who survive without being with the DCP, with those on Jubilee party, where Uhuru's influence is very strong, or where the candidate is so strong that even if there's a DCP party, will still floor him. And those are not very many places. So there isn't any conflict. DCP basically is a party that is formed to put the mountain people together. And that it has done. DCP has been formed as a vehicle to lock out Ruto from the mountain. And I think so far that has happened. DCP is a rallying point, a focal point for the mountain people to pursue their agenda outside Ruto's government and to remember what Ruto has done to them and to be more careful next time. That's what DCP is. It would not stand in the way of Uhuru's agenda. If Uhuru intends to tell the mountain people, look here, I have tried to show my community some direction because I can see where we are going. First, for now, it's not tenable for us to go for the presidents as Kikuyus. That's why I was supporting Raila Odinga. Unfortunately, Raila Odinga has chosen to work with Ruto, which is his right. I still want to pursue that, and I want to convince you, my people, it is in the interest of our community to ensure another Kikuyu does not become a president now. Although there was a break in 2022 where a non-Kikuyu took the presidency, it was still in that arrangement of Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Kikuyu, Kalenjin. Let us break away from that. That's why I was bringing Raila Odinga. This agenda was was the same agenda pursued by people like Charles Njonjo, SK Mashari of Royal Media, Joe Wanjui, the business magnate, and other influential Kikuyus who knew it was in the best interest of the mountain people to stay away from presidential power for a while, to let other people, so that the Kenya we have is a Kenya for all of us, in the interest of everybody, including the Kikuyus. So he can sell that narrative to them and say, that is why I'm pursuing this issue through Matiang'i now that Raila is not there. And the people will listen. And it will not be antagonistic in any way to DCP. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. It will not be antagonistic. The two will be different. Many people will be elected, but you see, it can get to a point where now there's a conflict.
Yes.
Once the Matiang'i wave has gripped the country and the mountain, it could simply kill DCP.
Yeah, and that's why I was talking about possibility of a conflict.
So that is a possibility of a conflict. If Matiang'i becomes the accepted candidate in 2027, owned more by the mountain than any other place, perhaps only second to Kisii. That way, Jubilee could easily sell as a party. People would want to be associated with the party of the president, the incoming president. So that could kind of kill DCP. And therefore, I urge Rigathi Gachagua and Uhuru Kenyatta to find a way of working together. Because any slight conflict, supposing everybody is going with Matiang'i, but Gachagua manages to take away a third of the votes to either Kalonzo or to himself, they will be playing against the community interest. They'll be giving room to Ruto to come and do his thing. Yeah. So they will, inevitably, Uhuru and Gachagua will have to work together. Unless one completely destroys the other. You know, it's quite possible that DCP could rain havoc and run down everything, including Jubilee. And vice versa. Jubilee could become strong and swallow everything on the mountain, including DCP and Gachagua himself. But since that doesn't look very tenable to me, the more realistic approach would be for them to work together. Yeah.
Talk to us about the nature of the kind of political game that these two players actually do. Of course, the retired president, or rather the former President Uhuru Kenyatta, still has got some influence in that particular region. But then look at the manner in which Rigathi Gachagua plays his politics. Most of the time he's been accused of being too aggressive, especially by leaders from that particular region. You remember the other time he even called them stupid, so to say. Do you think that this kind of approach and how he plays his politics may actually disadvantage him? And in that, a number of leaders may now troop towards Uhuru Kenyatta's side.
Yeah, those are the risks when you are too abrasive. You see, Gachagua's style is helping galvanize the community together with a few other communities to get now into walking away from Ruto. Family saying one term. Family saying Ruto no, never. So that you need that kind of force. You can't just achieve what Gachagua has achieved if you are a nice guy, you know, a nice guy talking nice, you know, boardroom, you know, town hall. You can't. What Gachagua has done could only be done using the style he used, being abrasive, being no nonsense, you know, rallying people and mobilizing, using a lot of force in whatever he's doing, a very forceful character. That was necessary. But, like you say, unfortunately sometimes, if there is an alternative, you could find people sliding away to that alternative. Once they are assured the work of demolishing Ruto is successful, Ruto is no longer an issue. That is obvious, is going away. At that point, if there is a softer alternative, which is Jubilee may offer, you can now find people trooping from DCP to Jubilee. Another reason why Gachagua may need to be a little careful, because he may lose his people, because the people will be safer with Uhuru and Jubilee, because Uhuru is not seeking power.
Definitely.
You see? Gachagua would be seeking power. And when somebody is seeking power, it's difficult sometimes working with them. You see? His interests are so paramount that he can crush you if you stand in the way of his ambition and interest. Uhuru is a seasoned politician. He has been president, son of the first president of this country. There's nothing he doesn't have. You know, he's an international figure. And he's not looking for presidency. So people may find him more attractive. So once the people realize that Ruto is no longer a factor, especially in the mountain, it will be very easy for politicians to troop to Jubilee. Yeah.
But on the other hand, for somebody who is not seeking power, and the other one who is actually seeking power, yes, who actually makes people more kind of attracted to the person? If at all we are looking at it from a political point of view, because somebody would argue that, look, if at all Gachagua is here and is still active in leadership and his quest for power, then you'd offer some sort of more oomph when it comes to leadership and control and all that, because he is still actively involved in this.
What I'm saying is, I'm making the assumption that as we move towards 2027, Gachagua will obviously be out of the picture in terms of running for president.
Okay.
Okay?
So that is out?
Yeah? So if that be the case, and then the mountain is faced with a choice between Kalonzo and Matiang'i. And Matiang'i is a Uhuru person. Kalonzo is a Gachagua person. It is quite possible that the mountain could think more Matiang'i than Kalonzo. So, since Gachagua is not running for presidency, the issue, the idea that his power itself, and therefore you want to work closer to power, does not work. He will have secondary power. The primary power will be with the person he's fronting, like Kalonzo, for example. So, in that state, I can see a situation where more people will go towards Jubilee than DCP. Yeah.
On the other hand, I'm looking for, because at the end of the day, Gachagua has always portrayed himself here as the voice of the mountain.
Yes.
When in the instant we are actually witnessing here, because you've told me that it's likely that the mountainside is going to support an external candidate, yes, especially on the president and even the running mate as well, if that is the case. Therefore, for the former president Uhuru Kenyatta, who is totally out of the picture, do you then think that in this case here, Gachagua would have to, even if he'll not actually occupy those top seats, but then he'll have some sort of a position here and of influence, and therefore would put him at a prime position to speak for the community as well?
Once Gachagua supports somebody, it will not be for him to be part of government. No.
Do you really think Gachagua cannot be part of the government?
He will be there, but not seeking those top positions. Because Gachagua's interest will be beyond 2032. Not to enjoy power with Kalonzo or Matiang'i. No. It's how to get the power himself. Yes.
Okay.
That convinces me that Gachagua is, if he's not running, he will be more inclined to support Kalonzo than Matiang'i. Because in Kalonzo, you see a one-term person. I don't know whether you see. It is in the same vein that I'm saying, if Raila were to happen on the political scene today, all these people support him. All of them, each for their own reasons. If Raila stands today, Gachagua will embrace him. Oh, wholeheartedly. Kalonzo will, so long as he's his running mate, he will embrace Raila.
Okay.
All of them. And Uhuru will be a happy man. That was his intention, that at least he makes Tinga president. He helps Tinga become president. So, Gachagua would not be in this thing to be part of government. No, he has already served as the second highest. And like you say, then the Mount Kenya people will be staying out in terms of the presidency and the deputy presidents. I don't think there's anything else to be given there.
Do you think Gachagua can do all this donkey work that he's doing currently for nothing?
For future. It's an investment for future.
Investment for future.
Yes.
Post 20.
And yes, and that's why I'm saying to Gachagua, Raila and Kalonzo will be more attractive than Matiang'i. Because Matiang'i is a robust young man. He will do his 10 years. How old will Gachagua be? Atakuwa sasa na hii dunia ya sasa hii. Hii dunia yenyu hii. Mtu wa miaka 70 kitu anatokea kwa anataka kuwa president in the year 2032 or 37. Actually 37. People will think you are mad.
And you have young, brilliant leaders.
Yeah, so it will be in his interest to support Raila or Kalonzo. That's why I'm saying if Raila happens on the political scene, all these political leaders will support him. All of them, without exception. Yeah. And I can tell you he will win in the morning.
Okay. Yeah. So are we looking at a possibility of these two parties coming into some sort of agreement such that the Jubilee party produces the presidential candidate and then leaves the rest of the positions in the mountain for DCP?
If I were Gachagua, I would support Uhuru. I would support Uhuru so that there's no conflict. There's no fight. So that DCP gets the seats. Uhuru gets the president through Matiang'i. Matiang'i becomes president. Uhuru is happy. Jubilee has a few seats. Uhuru is not in contention for power. He doesn't need many seats. He just wants a person who can run the country. He wanted to make Raila because he was sure Raila would. It didn't happen, and now Raila is sort of out of the picture. So the next best person to Uhuru may be Matiang'i. So it will be, and I can advise them for free. This time I will not charge. That Uhuru sit here, Gachagua sit here, agree. Gachagua can have his way with with seats, parliamentary seats and all sorts of things. Uhuru with his Jubilee will have the presidency. It will balance out so well because Jubilee will have other seats across the country. So Matiang'i will not have a problem.
Yeah. Without numbers, don't you think that Jubilee would be considered a weaker political party?
But they will have the presidency.
Because, okay, of course the presidency.
There are governors in this country from 2013. Some who have had just one MCA, some almost.
Those are governors. We are talking about the head of state. Yeah.
Yes. When we did the elections of 2022, Ruto didn't have the majority. That the courts have said. It's not Manyora saying. It's Azimio which had the majority. It was Azimio which was supposed to produce the majority party. You see, these people always think you must force your way.
But you remember the dirty game that Ruto played back then?
Ruto and Wetangula. I keep advising people. Even elsewhere where I'm something, I'm a director here, I'm a director there, and I'm this there, I'm a member here. I keep advising people. Don't always think you will have your way through force. Even without force, you can have your way and go home and sleep peacefully. But there are people who think you must always cut corners, do dirty things, force your way. So it was not even necessary for Wetangula to do the stupid thing he did. I'm sorry to call it stupid because it was stupid. And the courts have said it was not necessary. The coalition agreement and the law provide, the law provides that if you join a coalition before, at whatever point, you can leave. It provides a very short window of what you might call notice. So, Junet Mohammed or whoever it is would have been leader of majority. But for how long? For the duration it would take for the notice to leave the Azimio coalition to take effect. And therefore by October there, I don't know, I can't remember, the guys would have been free to join Kenya Kwanza.
Okay.
And then get the numbers. What would have happened in 2 or 3 months or 1 month? You see, people think you must always be evil. You must always do things, underhand things, force your way. No, you don't have to.
Okay.
You absolutely don't have to. And in any case, those who framed the Constitution knew situations of that nature could arise. And there can be absolutely no friction. If you are the leader of majority, because they don't know, you need to understand things before you become stupid in the way you do things. If you are the leader of the majority, government, the entire parliament is government. There is no opposition. That's the first beginning. Okay. So whether you are on the Raila side or the Ruto side, both of you as parliament are a government.
Okay.
So one side is the majority, the other side is a minority, all doing the same thing of one of the three arms of government, namely the legislature. Okay, the same job. As a leader of majority, the things you bring to parliament are government bills. And you are a member of government, whether you are in the minority or the majority. So for that short period, before the balance would favor Kenya Kwanza, there is nothing Junet Mohammed would have done.
Okay.
Absolutely nothing.
So
he will just do what government, if there are bills, they are government bills. Because he's part of government. You are government whether you are minority or. So some people think you must always do games and, play rough, underhand, under things chinny, in corners, break walls. No! Many times in life, I have had time to reflect on some of these things.
Oh, okay.
And I firmly believe you can have your way without necessarily being a bad person. Yeah.
So should Matiang'i successfully vie under the Jubilee Party ticket and win presidency in the next general elections, then we can actually say here that he would be ruling under a weaker party.
Why would it be weaker? Where do you get that impression?
But of course, the strength is in the numbers. If at all you do not have the requisite members
do not
of
forget.
parliament.
Do not forget. The law provides for coalitions.
Okay.
So Jubilee could enter into coalition before the elections.
Definitely they will.
The same law provides for post-election coalitions.
Okay.
Those openings, those two, provide room for Matiang'i, if he becomes president, to bring together a team.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying Ruto should have done.
I get you, finally.
Because he had a slight minority. There was no need of the ruling Wetangula was giving.
So we have just had some sort of...
Making people wonder, really, what is this guy talking about? Actually.
Finally. Do you think that if at all Matiang'i carries the Jubilee flag in the next general elections, then the Kisii region would actually have a number of members of parliament elected through Jubilee party?
Of course, all of them. You can't be elected on another party. The party on which Matiang'i will stand will get all Kisii seats. That's Nyamira and
Nyamira and Kisii here.
All. So don't underrate. Jubilee will get a majority of the seats in Nairobi. A majority. If Matiang'i stands on the Jubilee ticket, they will get almost a majority. They will get, assuming there is a soft arrangement between Uhuru and Gachagua. There will be reasonable number of seats Jubilee will get because they are not fighting. So people will choose whether in DCP, the same thing, because they are not fighting. So there will be seats from the mountain. And then there are other parts, because where would the running mate come from? The place where the running mate comes from, whether that running mate joins Jubilee or not, that running mate will come with seats. So I don't see the issue of an uncomfortable majority, but especially because even if Matiang'i didn't get a majority of the members of parliament, using post-election coalition agreements, he'll get a majority in a civilized manner. Not this other underhand, crookish ways of trying to force your way. You don't always have to force your way, because you can have your way without forcing. Yeah. How, if Ruto had waited for 3 months, he would just still have the majority.
He would have the majority.
Of course. Then, why would you make such a, I don't want to call them some rulings in parliament? Pakata koti na wauliza, hii ni nini sasa hii?
But actually right now with the broad-based arrangement, he's got a super majority now.
An immoral majority.
Super immoral majority. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stop at this point till we have this conversation again. Have yourself a lovely day, but of course you can weigh in and tell us what you actually think on what is going on between the DCP party and the Jubilee party in the mountain region. My name is Evans Kenyan. Thank you for watching.